Thank you for those very, very kind remarks. I hope I live up even to a modest amount of those expectations. Tonight it will be my pleasure to provide for you a quick overview of where we are and where we're heading in the President's commitment to building a future in our economy that's born out of a commitment to advanced information technology and broader innovative capabilities. In my remarks tonight, my ambition is to both share with you what we're doing in Washington, but in equal parts, more importantly, to call on you to participate and engage in ways that perhaps you may not have imagined before you walked into tonight's session. So without much further ado, I'd like to get started with a little message from the boss, which got us pretty excited just a few weeks ago.
Hello, everybody. I want to talk with you about the new consumer website, healthcare.gov. It's a good resource for understanding the new law, and it offers a few simple tools to help you take your healthcare into your own hands.
I bring that particular clip to mind because as we have these larger debates in Washington around a whole range of issues, and sometimes those of us that are witnessing this from the outside might say, this looks like a difficult process, a sausage-making process, it's unclear how much value there is. Emerging from a big and healthy debate we had around our healthcare system and what the future might look like, in less than 2 months, the President assembled a crack team of entrepreneurs. In fact, a Silicon Valley alum, my colleague and dear friend Todd Park, serving as the Chief Technology Officer for the Department of Health and Human Services, was tasked with the responsibility of standing up the nation's first key deliverable to ensure that the American people understand how and in what manner the new healthcare reform bill would translate into improving their everyday lives. Now, with a crack team, a commitment to entrepreneurship, and the President's focus and understanding about how technology, data, and innovation might transform both our economy and our everyday lives, our team went hard at work to figure out some basic principles. Basic principle number 1, we should understand the customer's experience or the customer's journey. As we went to design our healthcare portal, the first principle was understand who needs help. A small business owner, a young family, perhaps a parent of a child looking for care for their loved one. And we designed this program with those key elements in mind. Second, we understood the importance that in Washington, one of the policy tools that we have that we can leverage when it comes to making information, making our society work better, is accessing new and creative amounts of information. How many of you would have known how many health insurance options there are in your neighborhood or in your community? There have been startups in Silicon Valley that had attempted to engage on this question, and it's been a difficult task. But because we had the legal authority, we were able to, in less than 4 weeks' time, inventory every possible insurance option for every zip code in the United States. There are almost 17 options in every zip code, and all that data is freely available as we've gathered it. And third, perhaps most interesting as we took advantage of this, we understood that one of the key challenges in our nation's health insurance market is the difficulty in gathering pricing data. It's so hard to compare. There's no equivalent, for lack of a better term, the Expedia.com for health insurance plans. So, as part of our commitment to getting this right, well in advance of the more difficult legal challenges that will come out over the course of the next several years, we committed that by October of this year, we will have pricing data for every plan in America, widely accessible and available through this very simple portal. We believe that Americans will see benefits from this information, and even better, those who can capture that information in the entrepreneurial ecosystem and build even better navigation tools, because that data is going to be available for the American people to use in ways they never imagined. It's why the President said, as my homework assignment on his first full day in office before I was actually named to the post, that he wanted the Chief Technology Officer immediately to develop a set of recommendations on how we make our government more transparent, more participatory, and more collaborative. It's not just about the workings of government. It's also about an understanding about our economic prospects. A year ago today, when I had the honor of joining in this very room a summary of where our nation is on a global index, I shared with us the sobering news that from the years 1999 to 2009, the decade, the United States had the lowest rate of improvement on a collection of about 20-some indicators of global competitiveness. And I shared with you the challenge that while we have been at the top of our game on a number of these indicators, the fact that we've shown such little movement while other countries in many cases have surpassed our performance was a wake-up call that said we have to put more time and energy here. I had highlighted two specific initiatives of interest to the government, to the President. The first of those being to ensure that we have an electronic government or a government infrastructure that connects to the American people. And second, that we achieve the long-term economic prospects of the country by having a workforce that's skilled to compete globally. I'm pleased to report that literally months ago, the United Nations announced their 2010 updates to their e-government index. The United States made modest but improved performance. We went from 4th to 2nd in the world, and we're looking to get our strategies in place to be even more effective still. And the President announced, and we've seen a funding commitment by our Congress to promote the President's American Graduation Initiative, which calls for the United States to once again lead the world in the share of the adult population with college degrees by the year 2020. It is the President's commitment to this long-term future, rested on a foundation of technology and innovation, that I had the honor and privilege of joining the President when he released the strategy in September of 2009. Just by a brief show of hands, have any of you read or heard of the President's Strategy for American Innovation? Thank you for a number of you that have been paying attention. I want to give you a quick run-through of that strategy because I believe it is at the heart. While we're in our economic challenges, the question is, how might we think beyond the current economic challenge towards a future of long-term economic success? The President has said that that rests on three fundamental pillars. Our first pillar is that we as a nation are at our best when we invest in the building blocks of innovation. Those building blocks are ensuring that we have a highly skilled workforce, we have the next generation of infrastructure, not just physical, but also digital, and that we have, for the purposes of our long-term economic prospects, a research and development infrastructure that will help to identify the scientific and technological breakthroughs of the future. Second, we have a commitment to productive entrepreneurship and ensuring that we have an open and competitive marketplace that rewards those which we've seen so successful here in the Valley and throughout the United States. And last but not least, the President did outline a few key areas where we need an all-hands-on-deck approach. The President said that in the areas of healthcare, IT, and in the connection between technology and our energy sector, the smart grid, we should catalyze breakthroughs as best we can. A word on each of these principles, and Michael, I'd love to join you for some conversation. So let me get to the hard work about building up our skills in our overall economy. We have a commitment to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics that emanates from the President's top set of priorities all the way through, and a commitment within our technology team to deliver innovations not in years or in congressional cycles, which tend to go even beyond years, but in quarterly deliverables. I go back to the fall of 2009 when we were struggling with what to do with H1N1 to see whether or not our school systems would be struggling to bring back the students in case the virus had come back stronger. So instantly, Secretary Duncan, on behalf of the President, had called on our school systems and our supply chain in the educational market to stand up web-based delivery and instruction services just in case we needed to have a backup plan if our schools had to shut down for longer periods of time. 3 months after that, the President announced the Educate to Innovate campaign, a purely privately run collaboration led by Craig Barrett, Ursula Burns, and Sally Ride, the astronaut, to galvanize our entrepreneurial ecosystem, our corporations, to think about how we instill science, technology, engineering, and mathematics into the grassroots, school by school, community by community throughout this country. 3 months after that, we unearthed a grant program that was to focus on investments in innovation and breakthroughs in learning. We had modest amounts of capital, about $650 million, and what we said is let's create an open platform at innovation.ed.gov, where anybody with an entrepreneurial idea to improve our school system, ranked, of course, a number of key dimensions of policy priority, could have their voice heard without actually having to formalize a grant application or process, just to get their voice into the ecosystem. And then 3 months thereafter, we had the official applications process, where thousands of people around the country submitted their ideas to compete for our $650 million in funding. We just announced last week our 49 finalists that represent the best and the brightest of those applications to spur breakthroughs in education. And here's where technology, data, and innovation come in. We've posted summaries of each of those 49 finalists on our data.ed.gov platform, and we're encouraging you, the American people, to engage with those applications and determine if any of them merit your support. Because by law, each of those grant recipients have to bring up matching funds for their programs. Rather than require the grant funds to be matched before they apply, we are giving them a window until September 8th, once they've been deemed high-quality applications, to find out if they can gather the support from the American people to see those ideas through. I encourage you to visit data.ed.gov to see if there are breakthroughs in education that you would like to support in the context of matching funds. In the areas of research and development, the President has tasked his Council of Advisors for Science and Technology, led by co-chairs Eric Schmidt at Google and Shirley Ann Jackson at Rensselaer Polytech, to think through how we build a robust infrastructure that, frankly, the government is best positioned to offer, that will enable the creation of new bio, nano, and information technology products and innovations that will ultimately lead to new jobs and increases in GDP growth. We had the honor and privilege of bringing a whole range of rock stars under the age of 35, although it was not age limited, who were describing for us the world that they're researching as it might be a decade from today, to understand where there may be opportunities for leverage, where we're getting in the way and we have to stop, and what we can do as an ecosystem to support and nurture and scale those ideas that work. All of this is publicly available on our website. If you visit ostp.gov, you can download and participate in that public hearing. It's fascinating. One of the areas that came out of that workshop that is in the President's in the budget guidance for the President's fiscal 2012 budget was a commitment at applying advanced manufacturing principles in R&D to support our manufacturing sector, specifically by focusing on areas like robotics, cyber-physical systems, and flexible manufacturing. Platforms for long-term economic growth that is at the heart of our research and development strategy. But it would be wrong for us to talk about infrastructure without acknowledging that we are undergoing a sea change in how our society operates, especially in the communications standpoint. We are in the midst of a mobile broadband revolution, and a key asset necessary for success in that mobile broadband revolution is the ability to access government-held spectrum or government-controlled spectrum. The President announced just a few weeks ago a commitment to double or nearly double the amount of wireless spectrum available for mobile broadband use across the next 10 years. And our commitment that by the October month, we will have an overarching strategy and framework to not only encourage private access to spectrum, but also to free up government spectrum that could then be released into the private sector. We have a number of key principles that are at the heart of our spectrum initiative. Those principles include that target goal of 500 megahertz to be released over the next 10 years, the need for new tools and incentive programs to free up that spectrum, that we encourage through incentive auctions the ability to move that spectrum to highest value use, and that we use those auction proceeds to reinvest in some of the key infrastructure requirements of our country, chief among them, the goal of a national public safety interoperability network. And we're seeing the power of this in simple ways. I had the honor and privilege of seeing firsthand in February of this year when I announced the Text for Baby program. A very simple idea that young women that are pregnant should have access to the information they need to have a healthy pregnancy and should not be restricted because of their inability to access a care provider. So a collaboration of philanthropists and organizations like Voxiva came together and formed a coalition that said if you enter in 511411 and send a text message, the word baby and your due date, or bebe in Spanish, that you will get 3 high-quality messages a week that will keep you in a healthy trajectory over the course of your pregnancy and through the first year of your child's life.